for allowing the whole audience to watch your presentation.
It's okay. I'm not sure how interesting a presentation it is after.
Oh, come on.
The ones that we heard, at least, is less of a kind of webinar. But can you see it? The screen share is on.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I am basically gonna talk about how we built or where we are focusing on building various Coming Out social media accounts for the different companies, Coming Out English, Coming Out Japan, and Coming Out eTEFL from the audience up. So really kind of understanding who our audience is and what they want and how we can kind of use them to make our marketing on social media as effective as possible. So first, I'm going to give a kind of brief overview of the main goals that we had kind of concerning the social media of each company. And then I'm going to focus on Coming Out English in particular and kind of use it as a case study to emphasize or to kind of highlight how how I came to understand the real importance of focusing on your audience and trying to make all your content as relevant as possible. So first, a brief overview. So as social media interns, we've had control over all three Coming Out accounts of the three Coming Out companies. And while we focused on Instagram, we also worked a little bit with Facebook and LinkedIn, but for the purpose of this presentation, I'm also going to focus on Instagram. As you can see, the main goals for Coming Out English and Coming Out eTEFL were pretty similar. We were setting up both accounts from like a completely, or from a non-existent follower base. So we were setting them up from scratch. So we really wanted to focus on growing the accounts and kind of creating a recognizable, professional, coherent brand for both of the companies that, when someone sees a post, they can immediately say like, oh, it's a Coming Out account, or more specifically a Coming Out English account. And then we wanted to engage with other accounts and grow our follower base, our community on social media, that ultimately that both accounts are selling products, selling classes, English classes and courses on Coming Out English, and TEFL certifications on Coming Out eTEFL. So that was kind of the ultimate goal for both, to sell the products and to market those. But then Coming Out Japan, a bit more kind of about maintaining past intern engagement, and also building up excitement for new interns, and about future kind of opportunities to travel in Japan, or just getting people thinking about Japan. So the main focus was kind of on growing Coming Out English and Coming Out eTEFL, and then a bit more like maintenance on Coming Out Japan. So I'm quickly going to go through, I'm just like you might have seen on Instagram, some of these things, but just a kind of quick recap of the different brand identities that we try to create on social media for each of the accounts. Coming Out English was very predominantly designed on Canva, and we followed the guidelines for the color palette and typography that Bonnie set out down below at the bottom of the screen. And we wanted to create a kind of fun, engaging tone while still placing a big emphasis on being educational and having each post clearly be teaching something. And then Coming Out eTEFL, pretty similar, kind of similar vibes, graphics on Canva, following the color palette, but also including a few more travel photos and things, because when brainstorming for the account, we kind of decided that our target audience, who are aspiring English teachers, would be interested in travel, and a kind of major motivation to get a TEFL certificate would be the ability to travel and earn while doing so. So we're going to focus on target audiences like that for the rest of the presentation. So quickly, last bit on Coming Out Japan, a bit different in terms of brand identity, more photography, more kind of informational with like the early application deadline posts, blog posts, to keep people thinking about and excited about Japan, and then also some things to kind of push up engagement, like Instagram takeovers, like Kayla did, and also competitions, like photo contests and stuff. So now we've briefly gone through the 3 companies and the different brand identities that we created, or that we aim to create for them through kind of design and color scheme and more. I'm going to focus a bit more on Coming Out English and explore how, through trial and error, really, we kind of learned the importance of really working to understand your audience and kind of to use this understanding to inform the content that we were publishing on social media. So when we first set up the Coming Out English account, we kind of created an initial persona that we thought we were really targeting with our posts and with our marketing on social media. So this is kind of like a summary of the basic persona that we created. So we started off with a predominantly Japanese audience in mind. We're building off Coming Out Japan, and at the time, I think probably still now, all the Coming Out English students were Japanese. So even in little things like the location of posts or the hashtags that we used, and like the accounts that we followed and tried to engage with, we were really focusing on Japan and trying to drive up engagement there. And then we also thought that university students, or more so kind of young professionals, would interact most with our account in like an effective way for us, in that they'd be much more willing to, or much more likely to spend money on English classes than younger audiences, even if those younger people, like teens, might be on social media a bit more. And we thought they'd benefit from kind of quick, eye-catching lessons that they could look at in between classes or commuting, or just, yeah, quick, easy things to learn. So we had this persona, and we started to create posts and really target the Japanese kind of like 20 to 30-year-old audience. And once we started posting, we began to use Facebook Creator Studio as kind of an easy way to get insights into both the performance of individual posts and insights into our follower base. And having such information really helped us, and has continued to help us kind of determine how accurate this initial persona has been. So this is the current image from Facebook Creator Studio, but it stayed pretty consistent since like the beginning of the account, or setting up the account. And as you can see, the persona that we created was accurate in that we decided to target people of a specific age, kind of 20 to 30-year-olds, and the majority of our followers do fall into this group. So that was one good thing about the persona we created. But it quickly became apparent that it wasn't as accurate as we initially thought it was. And once we started gaining traction and getting more followers, we saw that the vast majority of our followers did not fit into kind of many other factors other than age. So as you can see, very few followers are actually in Japan. Yeah, it's like a negligible amount according to Facebook. And again, this is a current image, but it's pretty consistent with how things have been. So I think at the moment, like 30% of our followers are in India. And then like United States, that's also some Coming Out interns and staff and stuff. So like we kind of take that out of the equation a little bit. And then we've got like Brazil, UK, Iran. So yeah, so persona not completely accurate then. And then also another huge group of followers is other EFL accounts. So when we set up the Coming Out English Instagram account, we followed a ton of other EFL accounts in order to kind of like check out the competition and establish ourselves in the field. But we didn't really take a lot of time to think about them as influential followers or kind of audience members who could like engage more with our brand past just liking and commenting and like, yeah, getting us more likes. So the accounts shown on the previous slide in like India and Brazil, for example, are not all owned by English learners. A lot of them are people who are running their own EFL accounts. So we wrote out a second persona to represent these online accounts, online English foreign language accounts. And as you can see, like, yeah, and as I said before, they like our posts a lot and comment and stuff, but they're not actually going to be the ones who are buying our lessons because like they are English teachers themselves. So as we now go on to kind of discuss what changes these findings and like, yeah, what about how our persona that we initially created wasn't completely accurate. We're going to look more into how we decided that we could transport, or that we kind of like use these other EFL accounts and how it tried to transform the relationship between us and them from just like liking each other's posts and commenting to kind of a more profitable one, and try and use this follower base in particular to help us market our products. So as said many times, the initial persona of the kind of young Japanese professional wasn't actually as accurate as we initially thought it would be. So we made some small changes to this persona. As you can see on the top right of the screen, we just changed it to kind of young professionals worldwide or non-English speaking countries. And we also started to kind of include the online English educator when we were talking about Common Out English and our followers. So quick little fixes, we changed things like hashtags on the post. So on like the bottom left, we just included some placed hashtags and tried to like just kind of trial and error again. Like there's a lot of room for experimenting, trying out different locations to see if we could kind of get more and more people in a particular area following an account, and then having their friends in the same area have the account suggested to them and stuff, and like trying to build that kind of traction. And then maybe also a little bit of word of mouth. I think something that's kind of often the most effective marketing tool. So we were changing things that would kind of work to tackle the issue of our initial persona being a bit too narrow in terms of location in particular. Yeah. And then we also, on the bottom right, you can see that we put like a happy Diwali story up, and we were trying to play into, like do posts about different festivals from around the world or different holidays and things, and just try and kind of tap into different audiences around the world. And then for the other EFL accounts, even though kind of in our persona for them that we created, we established that these accounts were kind of more unlikely to be actually buying our products, we wanted to try and somehow use them to help us sell our products to others. So that kind of started with building relationships with them, kind of establishing like a reciprocal liking thing. So like we like their posts, we comment on their posts, they comment on ours, just kind of like having a relationship with them that we could rely on and then build from in the second and third points. So we started putting more of a focus on kind of interactive posts and especially stories, and took some focus away on from kind of posting every day and like getting a language, like a grammar lesson post out every day. So yeah, we're posting more interactive posts, and the kind of idea was that by getting other EFL accounts to repost our stories and tag us, we'd effectively be getting them to advertise our account to their own followers for free. So as you can see, like the craving challenge and stuff, just by getting, and like kind of by the nature of things, like when we post these interactive stories, it's mainly other EFL accounts that repost and stuff and like reply to them. So it kind of worked as quite an effective tool for getting them to, show some of our content to their own followers and hopefully get some of their followers to follow us and buy our courses. And then a bit more like direct promotion kind of for and through other accounts. So we've collaborated with a couple other accounts, mainly on coming out eTEFL so far. So like the blog post that we did with a teacher at the bottom left corner. And we're currently working on creating like a US versus UK pronunciation video using an English EFL teacher and Kelly from the Coming Out team. Yeah, so we kind of felt like the risks of promoting the competition and doing this kind of like reciprocal collaboration and promotion outweighed the benefits, or no, the benefits outweighed the risks, because like, as we were talking about at the beginning of the presentation, we created this really solid brand identity that we're pretty confident in and that we think really sets us apart from our competitors. And yeah, makes us kind of stand out even when we're promoting other accounts. Like we think that we stand out. So again, this is definitely a very kind of simple and straightforward step-by-step run through of how we've kind of worked to adapt the Coming Out English Instagram account in particular to fit like our growing and changing follower base. But yeah, even though it was pretty straightforward using Facebook Creator Studio as well as kind of Instagram Insights, and even just scrolling through our followers list has really taught me kind of the importance of trying to make use of every single one of your followers to market your account and your product. So I'd definitely say that analytics are very useful, as simple as they are, even if you've just been looking through your followers to see who they are or where they're from. And even if they're not your intended target audience, followers are rarely useless, and they can be used as kind of an additional means through which to advertise your product. I've also learned that it's worth experimenting. Little things like changing location and varying hashtags may help boost engagement. It's kind of difficult to quantify by how much this has been, but our new kind of follower acquisition rate has been increasing and increasing. So hopefully that had something to do with it. And then finally, while it is important to kind of create a solid brand identity, and this can help you stand out from the competition, I think there should still be room for flexibility. For example, like shifting our focus from posting every day to posting less often and doing more interactive stories and things. And yeah, your content shouldn't be set in stone. There should be room to kind of change it and adapt it to fit your audience, especially if your audience isn't what you initially thought it would be. Thank you.
Thank you, Juhi.
Sorry, I was a bit long and rambly.
No.
Well, there's a lot going on. I mean, you've been running the account since what, June or July? Whenever
Yeah,
that
like
was.
July, August.
July, yeah. I mean, and if for those of you who've watched it, Coming Out English has soared above Coming Out Japan's follower count.
Yeah, we're pushing for the 1,000.
Juhi, I missed that slide. Can you go, what was the numbers? What were the numbers for the followers and whatnot? I just missed that real quick.
Yeah, well, at the moment, well, last night when I did the screenshot, we had 817 followers on Coming Out English. And I think Coming Out Japan is like 550 at the moment. But I've got a spreadsheet that I can send to you as well, the kind of rolling count of followers week on week.
What was there that first meeting we had? Like, how many
10.
were there?
10. Yeah, I think it was like 10 or 20, and it was all interns.
Yeah, that's amazing. You did a great job.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I love that it featured started working with other people too, like the Alan and the Traveling Crumbs guy recently for TEFL, and you mentioned, but we haven't put it up yet, the Kelly and Catherine video.
Yeah, I think it is probably like, a pretty valuable marketing tool. Just kind of like establishing ourselves as like big players in the kind of online English community. But also, yeah, as we say, advertising to their own followers, because I think we have got a pretty like good looking
looks really
social
good
media presence and stuff. So I think I don't know, I feel pretty confident that like if a follower or like a potential new English customer sees like our account and some of the other ones out there, they'd be drawn to ours because it does look a bit more coherent.
What do you think the next step is? How do we turn this into the next level that equals more subscribers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think, yeah, because like, I mean, growing followers can only do so much when they're not actually buying the lessons and things. I do think that kind of working with other accounts, like other teaching accounts, might be helpful, like working with this Catherine that Matt mentioned and kind of, yeah, trying to kind of establish ourselves to her followers who presumably are students of hers and stuff, and like kind of getting more recognition there, like hopefully getting a bit more recognition with kind of bigger companies as well. And I think just kind of still pushing for like doing posts that are talking about signing up for free lessons, like doing like, I think Jamie put up an Instagram story yesterday, kind of scrolling through one of the quizzes on, or the typing test on the English website and stuff. I think just like kind of continuing with like putting out educational content, but also, yeah, pushing that we're selling something, and then trying to kind of, yeah, establish ourselves a bit more in like the online English community.